Hey, I'm Jahan.
And I'm Chelsea.
Here again with Chelsea. Okay, so Chelsea, there's a question that seems to come up sometimes, every once in a while. People are questioning, we talk about where our oils come from, and we often mention that these oils come from the Amazon, or, we get our conifers like spruce and pine and whatnot. They have to come from forests, obviously. And I've heard the question come up, I think it's come up maybe for you as well, about what is Young Living doing, and is this sustainable, and is this damaging the Amazon rainforest, and what are we doing? So what's your answer to that?
Well, why don't you guys take a look around? This is some of the area that they will end up clearing out and then be able to go ahead and grow some type of viable, sustainable plant or tree. So this is what is getting taken down. We're not knocking down trees, we're not knocking down beautiful things. It's all dead space. That's it.
This is what they come and they clear out to create the most unbelievable, beautiful farms. They're not just, if you look in the background, I don't know if you could see it, there's a gorgeous sable tree back there. That doesn't come down, actually. None of that stuff comes down. All the dead yuck. And by the way, just to show you something here too, if you just scan a little bit over here and look how thick it is in there and the brush is thick, when they were first developing this farm, the entire farm looked like that. All they had were the goat trails, literally the goat trails, and they would have to walk this farm with a machete just to be able to get through all the dry, yucky, all that stuff to see if there was even something here that they could plant. Most people looked at this land and didn't even want it because they thought there was nothing to it and it was junk land. Can you believe that? And talk about junk land here. They told us if you go a couple miles just in one direction, you would hit the ocean. And yet you stand in the middle of this. What is your impression of this, Chelsea?
Oh, everything's dead and dried up.
Right?
Nothing viable here.
Nothing viable. And they will get green when they hit their rainy season. They'll get green, but you're still talking just a lot of bushes, right? We're not talking about the Amazon rainforest as you think of it. We're not talking about parrots flying all over the place and we're taking the homes away of the monkeys. That's not what's happening here.
Hey everyone, this is Chelsea and I'm here with
Aunt Glenda.
and we just have a quick part 2 to the video we just did about the land that Young Living is able to take, that dead land, and what they turn it into. And we just want to show you.
Take a look.
This is what it ends up looking like after they clear out all of that dead land. Here you go.
This is amazing, right?
I mean, look how beautiful this is.
Fields and fields.
Fields.
Of beautiful plants to make your oils.
This is how you got it. Here's the ylang ylang forest, and this is just one part of it, right?
Yeah.
Just incredible. One.
And if you want, Jan, even turn around there. That's where
And we'll
the
show.
dead land was, and look how
Yes.
close it is to this beautiful, beautiful property.
And there's our dead land that they haven't even
That's
taken down.
untouched.
Untouched yuck, and then you have all this beauty. And right here, just as a quick aside, Chelsea, why don't you explain here what they're looking at? We're not even sure what it is that's growing here, but this is, even though it looks like a field of weeds,
No.
right? Go ahead, guys, let them know what you're looking
But
at here.
the thing is that there are weeds amongst all the plants, but because they refuse to use pesticides or anything, everything has to be organic and natural.
Smells like marjoram.
I was thinking maybe it was marjoram
I think it might be.
too, right? And look at that, fields and fields and fields of it. Thank God that Young Living is willing to go through all the effort to clear out what most people look at as junk land, that they're willing to do that, and we'll have a series coming, another video coming showing you how they make it organic, what the soil looks like, the worm house, all that, because it's just really incredible everything that goes into this. So
And the worm house is an extremely important part of this to aerate the soil and put the nutrients into it, so it's totally organic. So that's why they have their own worm farm, rows and rows of doing it. And to put
You know
it
what?
into the
That's
soil.
a great point, Aunt Glenda, because
Yes.
everyone always asks, is it organic? And to us, it's almost like a duh. Gary Young would never use pesticides. But, like Glenda had mentioned, just to see the process and know for sure that there's no chemicals at all. on
I know I
this
say
farm.
obviously there's no pesticides. All the pictures that you see on other people's websites that are just all pretty of rows and rows, you don't see the prettiness. And Gary tells us that. You're not going to see the pretty rows because my farm is organic.
Plus, they take the things and they use them in like a compost to create their own soil with everything. So when the leaves die and they fall to the ground, they're left there, and underneath they showed us some of the various different types of worms that are very advantageous to the soil around here.
Yeah, so we should head over to the worm house and get a video up about that. What do you say?
On it.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, thanks. Hi, everyone. Welcome to beautiful Ecuador. My name is Chelsea, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Glenda.
And right now, we are actually at the first step to seed to seal. So this is the part where they plant the seeds. This is oregano. And what they do is they have this within this greenhouse here. So the little seeds come to these little plants.
Right? They start here, and when they get to a certain amount, it takes about, how many weeks for this one to
They said at least
About
5 weeks
5
here
weeks here, and then it's transferred over
to the
They
bigger
plant
greenhouse.
here a little bit, and then over to the bigger greenhouse.
Yeah, so you're gonna walk right through. Let's go in, Glenda. Let's show
Doing
everyone.
the seed to seal.
Alright, and then here we go. We go into like these little planters here. And I mean, this oregano, it's not like oregano in the US. I mean,
Look
look
at this.
how thick these leaves are. Can you come closer so you can see?
Okay.
And see the,
I mean, look at the
and see the
thickness.
height.
And the height of this. And in here, it stays in here for an additional 5 weeks before they
smell.
actually plant them. See these glass containers here that we found out something really interesting is that what Young Living's doing, they're doing research to show how are they going to make some of the soil back into organic soil. So what they're actually adding to this soil is dyes, the essential oil blend dyes. And what their studies are showing is that then that soil is actually considered an organic
Correct.
soil.
Because a lot of times, a lot of the soils, a lot of people use pesticides, and there is nothing used with any of the plants that the oils come from with Young Living. There are no pesticides involved at all. So they use the dyes in here, along with their worms, to aerate the soil, and they turn it over, and then redo it again until all chemicals are out of it.
So here you go. Step 1, planting the seed.
Do they test the soil to find out if it's organic or not? Because that comes up a lot. People want to know how come organic isn't on the label. Is it really organic? What have you guys noticed since you were here? I mean, just to reinforce what you're saying.
Absolutely. Well, they actually, when we get to the worm area with the dirt, you will see the different color of the soil, and that'll show the potency and how organic and pure the soil is.
It's true. It makes
So
the
the
richness
darker.
of it.
Excellent.
But the other thing that because we've seen weeds amongst all the plants when we're out there, because they do not believe in any pesticides whatsoever. That's the nature and the natural way of growing.
Awesome. Why don't we head over to the worm house? What do you say?
Let's go.
All right, let's talk some more about soil. This is Jahan, and I'm here with
I'm Glenda.
Aunt Glenda, and we just took you from the seeds and the greenhouse and all that, and now we're going to go to the worm house. All right, come on, let's take a walk right over here to the worm house and see what we find.
For those of you that don't know the importance of worms, then anything about agriculture, which Dr. Gary Young is all about proper agriculture, they play a very important role in the soil and making it organic and healthy.
Absolutely. So in order to have good plants, healthy plants, like Gary even used to say about the seeds, if you don't know your seeds, you don't know your oil, you don't know your plants. So he takes care for every step of the process to make sure that we're really getting the highest quality, purest essential oils on the planet. And a lot of people make claims like that, but have you ever seen anyone show this before? We're showing you. Why? Because we're here, and Young Living is an open book company. So here's your worm house. They have worms all through here. They make sure they have worms in their soil. So this is where, I don't know what you would say about that, I guess where the worms proliferate or whatnot. Yes. But they also test how they do in the soil. And what they showed us over here was different grades of soil. They want to make sure, of course, that we have the darkest soil here. This is the richest, darkest. Oh my gosh, you can feel what it feels like.
Yeah.
That is like,
oh, yeah.
right?
Big
this
difference.
is beautiful. And then you have soil like this that is not bad, not bad.
Coming.
It's coming. And this, of course, is not exactly what you would want. So they're really working to get it to this. And if you look at the worm house and the soil that the worms thrive in, I mean, thrive. Look at how dark it is. I know it's dark in here, but you can see how dark this is. Now, these go out to the fields, and they're all turned into the fields and whatnot. And then our seeds, our plants, our little seedlings, all that are grown right in this soil. And that's why, and then again, the distiller is right here. So now the plants get harvested, right?
Now tell them too what they
step by
add,
step.
right? What do they add to that? They said all their, like the garbage and.
Oh yeah,
right?
There's a compost pile, which I can't seem to locate right now, but they do. They put their compost in here. All that, we're going to take you to the nursery in a minute, but even with that, they take all the droppings, all the stuff from the restaurant that's over here, everything that's grown on the farm, everything that's harvested goes back into the soil, and they really cultivate the soil. Then that goes into the fields.
And right behind us is we have the banana where they have, and the plantains back there. So they use the peels, they use the food in the restaurants. They take it to the academy to feed the kids, and they use it for the workers. suckers here, but then all the peels and things are used to compost right back in. You can see the piles of leaves on the ground underneath and all that. That's just
That's all
composting
part of
down
the compost,
for
yeah.
soil. And they showed us other types of worms that they have in there that are very healthy for the soil that I was unfamiliar with, that are indigenous to Ecuador.
And we were in the fields before, and we've been in the fields several times, and you could just pull up the soil and see how rich it
Oh,
is. And
yes.
not only that, you could just see how the plants are thriving so well.
Amazingly.
And plants can't thrive if the soil's not good, the plants are not good. They're just not good. And we're going to show you in just a little bit on Research Row why that makes a difference.
Hi, here we are on the Young Living Farm in Ecuador. I'm Glenda.
Hi, and I'm Chelsea.
We're here standing at one of the fields on this vast, huge farm called the Research Field. And every farm has a research field where they try different things with the plants. And what we have discovered down below here, we have a pallet of Melissa that they brought here to try to grow. And this is what happened.
So what happens, as you can tell, if Jan zooms in on it, is that unfortunately they're unable to grow Melissa in Ecuador because of the heat. Melissa does not like the excess of heat, and as you can tell that it looks like the plant is starting to die. You're not going to be able to produce oil in Ecuador for Melissa. However, if you go and look at something, if you walk right over here, right? This is oregano, and I know we keep talking about oregano, but look how well it has done with the Ecuadorian climates. And again, if you go in the States, you will not see oregano grown to this capacity. So it's really important for them to do research and see where they should put their time and resources into, and which plants will be able to sustain life and be able to be viable so we can turn them into essential oils.
Plus, we learned that here, while we were here, that the Ecuadorian oregano was a slight bit different than oregano that was grown in another part, and it's not as hot to the skin as the other oregano. So this is just a little bit different.
But you still get that amazing strength and properties to it.
Oh,
so
yes.
every reason that you would use oregano
No
for,
difference in the
you'd still
quality.
be able to use it. Highest quality. So here we go with just another little area of the farm here in Ecuador. We're walking down a dirt road, and as you can see right here is some lemongrass. And then straight ahead is tons and tons of ylang-ylang plants. I mean, it's incredible. And there's Jahan and Aunt Glenda. And then I think in between there might be some banana trees as well. But I mean, look how far this farm just goes on and on and on. And these are the new little baby ylang-ylang, which will grow into these huge ones.
It is to the distiller. That's how fresh our stuff is.
Oh yeah, and that's the distillery is right up here. And it's literally hand-picked, people. Ylang-ylang is hand-picked and brought right to the distillery on this property. So here we are in beautiful Ecuador at Young Living's farm.
Alrighty, I'm Jahan.
And I'm Chelsea.
Here we are in the farm in Ecuador, the Young Living Farm in Ecuador, and we are sitting in pretty much a ylang-ylang forest, right?
Yes.
Isn't it incredible?
I mean, there's just so much ylang-ylang everywhere you look.
So we learned something really interesting about ylang-ylang and what it takes to harvest ylang-ylang.
Okay, so the first thing is that these parts of the ylang-ylang, it's all hand-picked. And you need to look at the color inside. So, Aunt Glenda, can you come on in? So do you see this?
It's
See how-
almost ready.
See how it's red? How it's all red?
You see how you get that red stripe inside the ylang-ylang flower? That means that it's almost ready to harvest. When it's really red, then it's ready. Now you're going to find one. You see how this one doesn't have it? This one's not ready to harvest. You see that? So what does that tell us? There's a couple things that tells us here. First of all, that's how you get it. Now, Gary says he could distill it, he could do all that stuff, he could get it to smell like ylang-ylang, right? But it won't, again, have the same properties that we want, the therapeutic properties for it. Plus, they were talking about how it's burned and,
Exactly.
right?
And it literally, they get people from, they said from the area.
Local
Local
people.
women, usually because they said they have more patience. And they come and they literally pick them hand by hand, one at a time.
One at a time, just like this, right?
That's
They
it.
just take this flour, they stick it in a basket, they bring it up to the distiller, which is right here on property. Another thing that's really important, right? It's not traveling miles or across the country
Exactly.
or across the sea. It's not doing it. It's right here on property. They have the distiller, and they take all the ones with the stripe. Now here's what's interesting. What I was going to say before too, and you really touched upon it, that it has to be hand picked. So not only do we have to wait for the growing time,
Absolutely.
then we have to wait for them to be ready. Now, Gary in Young Living could just say, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of flowers right here. Let's just pick this because we could produce the oil. We could get the smell for it, right? And who's going to know the wiser?
Exactly.
But we know the wiser because you know what? They're harvesting up there, and we harvest. And what did we say?
Oh, it will literally blow your mind when you see it. They also make sure that they don't pound it in either. So there's a certain amount that they use at a time. So that way they're not all pressed together. So you do get the purest quality.
Otherwise, it damages the flowers, right?
Exactly.
I mean, how much doesn't it blow you away, Chelsea? How did you feel when you're hearing this? Does it blow you away how much care goes into what we get?
It's unbelievable. It's literally life-changing to see all of this in person.
It is, right? And they said, you could say, well, it's going to be really expensive to do that. And it is. It's a huge expense, this operation. So you know what they have here? And we'll touch upon it on something else or in other pictures or whatever. They have a brick factory.
They make their own bricks.
They make their own bricks, and then they sell them to the community. They make really high quality bricks. They sell them to whoever needs them, to contractors and whatnot. And they offset the price of our oils. It helps to subsidize the price because it's so arduous and so time consuming.
And
to
it's
get
expensive to
real-
have this farm, even just to have the farm itself.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
So Young Living goes to great lengths. Can you imagine any other company? You know how we know that we can't imagine it? Because there's no other company with farms. That's just the facts, folks. If you're not using Young Living oils, you're not using oils. That's all there is. Thank you for joining us again.
Bye.
Down.
Look at this.
See how the tubes run down?
This is where they put all the plant material and they distill it. Look how huge this thing is. And there's two others next to it.
This one is a big,
Jahan's making a brick.
You can dump it in right now. Lift that puppy up. Very nice. Brick makers. Shake your hand. New York style. Dump it in, pull it back over. Okay. Compress that brick. Okay. Nicely done, sir. Now lift the bottom bar up. There's your brick.
Wow.
Now brush off the top.
Good job, Jahan.
Nice. Now carry that puppy over to the... It's too heavy for your hand? Very nice. Who's next? Make a brick for the school. Make a brick for the school.